I heard that you followed around a supervisor who works in a similar care facility as you work in the film through a shift. I wondered how eye-opening was that, and what was the best advice that she gave you?
It was extremely eye-opening. I mean, I think without her realizing it, it not only informed Grace in the film, but it informed my life. I mean, I took from it really huge life lessons that I had yet to learn. Because she is the calm in the storm of these children that are really struggling and are also in this constant pushback because they are not used to trusting anyone, and they are trying to do everything in their power to get you to snap so that you can be just like everybody else. And she had this beautiful balance in how she would push forward and when she would let off, and when I was in awe of the whole thing. And she had this very calm demeanor that everything was very matter of fact, and she had done this job for 20 years, something crazy. And so I asked her, after many hours of just sitting there, agape, just couldn't believe how perfectly I felt she was handling these situations. And I asked her how she did it, and she just said, "You let go." And it was the simplest and most profound advice I had ever received. And this is coming from, my job is to kind of emotionally turn up some stuff in my head and then put it on camera. And I had found in the past, anytime I had gone into some treacherous territory, some harder material, a darker character, I could film a movie for 2 weeks, a month, but then it would take me 3 months to a year to undo the damage that I had done to myself psychologically, I'd make myself believe these things, or I'd remind myself of things that I didn't need to, most people heal, but I just keep them there to just turn it up. And I realized how unhealthy that was, and how important it is for me as my growth as an adult to learn the separation, the emotional separation. So it allowed me this great opportunity to go really deep and really far within this character, but then when the day was done, I was able to remove myself from it and decompress and relax and laugh and find joy and bliss in the hard work that had been done, but no need to linger in it.
So it's not only great for the film, obviously, but in terms of your career as an actress as well.
Yeah, in terms of
human being.
Exactly, in terms of just my mental health, it was absolutely incredible, because what she's dealing with is so much more than what I'm doing, and I feel like she saved me from a lot of trouble later on.
And your partner in both work and in life in the film, Mason, played by John Gallagher Jr. Now, I heard that the director, Destin, set you a little task. You went on to dinner together with John, and so you went on a kind of little fake date, and he gave you a little task to do. So I wanted you to tell me a little bit about what that involved.
Yeah, it was pretty genius. We didn't have very much time because we were a very small film, really, really low budget, and with everyone's schedules, it was kind of put together really quickly, and we didn't have any time for rehearsal. But the importance, there's this underlying importance in the film that there are these long relationships, including the one between Grace and Mason. They've been together for many years, and it's not something that is really shown very much in the film, but it's something that is kind of felt and understood. And so being able to get to that level of comfort and of understanding between the two of them, with the time frame that we had, the only thing John and I could do was go to dinner. So we had planned this dinner, and Destin, I guess, found out about it, and as John was leaving to meet me at the restaurant, he saw an envelope on his doorstep that was labeled to the two of us and said, "Do not open until you get to the restaurant." And so what is this thing? And we open it up, and inside it had this little letter from Destin that just said, "I don't know if this is going to help you, but I'm trying here." And inside it were a bunch of little pieces of paper that were conversation starters, and they were things ranging from specifics about, asking us to open up to each other about our childhoods, about our favorite childhood memories, our hopes and fears of being a parent, those sort of bigger questions, and then just getting a dialogue going between Grace and Mason. What was our first date like? How long have we been dating? And then it got to the point where we got really even interested in our finances, of figuring out, okay, well, if we're making this much a month, maybe this is why, I have a bike and we only have one car, and maybe we moved in together really quickly because, we started creating, and the next thing you know, we're like arguing over where our like $20 of spending money is going. And it really worked. It created something that we had an entire mythology. We had a whole catalog of information about each other and about how those two characters related. And it really worked.
I mean, I think you're completely right. I mean, it's not something that you are told in the film, but you feel it for the relationship that you guys have together.
There's very few. Yeah, there's very few scenes actually where the two of them are really intimately together, and it's interesting that you see just one scene briefly of them together, and somehow it carries you through this whole thing, and you feel for them and relate to them. And I don't think that it would have been possible if we hadn't had that conversation.
And one of the things Grace is so good at is reading situations, reading people when she first meets them, and in the long term as well. How good would you say you are at that in real life?
I don't know. I think probably somewhere in the middle, maybe. It's hard. The thing that I really enjoy about being a human being, and my job in particular, is listening. I love listening much more than I like talking, and I don't really enjoy talking about myself. So having the opportunity within this film where it felt like so much of my job was just listening to the kids, listening and reading a situation and being totally quiet and just registering and living within that. And it made my job really easy that everyone I was listening to were really good actors, and I didn't feel like my job really had to do very much with creating something in my head as it was just being present and looking at someone and caring and feeling about them. And that all leads up to a scene where I talk with my boss about one child in particular, and I'm really fighting for her. And it was a big moment for me because I never for a second was fighting for some imaginary idea of a child or fighting. I really cared so much. I cared so much about Caitlin. I cared so much about these kids, and I cared so much about the kids that I met while shadowing, that it felt real to me. I felt like I was really going through the motions with her, and that was a pretty cool feeling.
I mean, it's interesting what you say about both yourself and your character being a listener rather than a talker, because it kind of reminds me as well of a very different, of course, film, and a very different character you've got in the London Film Festival as well, your character in Don Jon. Do you feel that, because she's very much an observer as well, isn't she?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's all she's doing the whole time. And that's someone who very much recognizes that she's going to say something and it just makes everyone argue more and no one's going to listen to it. And so instead she just sits there having this knowledge, and she becomes a strange character in that, because she is in some ways, I feel like, what the audience is feeling as they're watching it. I felt like, and maybe it's just because it's me and the audience watching it, but I felt like I was making the same faces in my seat watching it as I was on screen. Because, she's kind of she's the one insider. She's the one person for us that we look to and we're going like, okay, so this is weird. Like, we can all recognize this is very strange. And these people that are all talking and arguing have such strong opinions and think that they're right, where in reality, sometimes it really is the person that doesn't feel the need to say anything, but is the quiet observer that's kind of cataloging everything. Those are the ones.
Definitely. I mean, you've had some fantastic films this year. Of course, obviously, Short Term 12, one of them. It's one of my top films of the year, I must tell you. I can see Hollywood's definitely going to come knocking. Let's not pretend that. What would you say if somebody like JJ Abrams came to you and said, "How about Star Wars, Brie?"
I think that I would pee my pants. Okay, that's about it. I mean, those movies are everything to me, and I think JJ Abrams is in a lot of ways where I take some of my cues, because I am a huge believer in fighting the hard fight for the mystery to stay within this industry, and it's really hard when movies are bizarre and they're strange and they are kind of fun to talk about, but it's really important, and it's important for my job as an actor in particular to keep certain things hidden, because it just doesn't become fun anymore. I remember wanting to be a magician as a kid, and It was all I wanted. And I didn't want to be the assistant. I wanted to be the magician. And then this TV show, I don't know if it came out here, but this TV show came out called like Magician's Secrets Revealed. And it was like the highest televised thing. And then in the end, it was devastating because all of the great secrets, all of the things that we love, the illusions were gone. They had taken them, this guy had taken them away. And I feel like there's a similar aspect to the magic of creating a movie. There are some beautiful aspects of it. There are some really talented people that I work with that I'd love to talk about. But there's a certain point where it's so important that people don't know about me, they don't know about my life, they don't know about how I feel about certain things, because it will, in the end, only stop the idea that I can then transition into being another face with another mask.
Absolutely. I mean, talking about losing the magic or keeping the magic, if you were part of something like Star Wars, you'd be seeing the kind of behind the scenes, wouldn't you? You'd be part of that world being created, and you wouldn't you kind of lose magic in a way, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, that whole thing to me, those movies to me are really, really important. It's like one of the first books that I read on the making of a movie was The Making of Star Wars, and I got it from the library when I was 8 years old, and I thought it was so cool that I knew how they did the lightsabers. So, and it's just the ultimate hero's journey. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, in my mind, I want to be in Star Wars, and I want to be in Indiana Jones, and I want to be in Star Trek, and I love those movies.
A superhero movie maybe as well?
Yeah, I want to be a superhero. I want to be in Terminator. And did I miss anybody?
I don't know, Lara Croft maybe?
Yeah, maybe Lara Croft too. We'll throw her in. I love those movies. I think that they're, as much as something like Scenes from a Marriage is incredibly important to me, Star Wars is in this, or Lord of the Rings. Oh, goddamn, Lord of the Rings. I forgot Lord of the Rings. Those ones are kind of in the same category for me. The budgets are very different. We're talking about much different scripts and a much different sort of facade, but at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. We're talking about humans and human struggle and the world being a magical place, and that's what it's all about.
Definitely, Brie. It's been lovely talking to you. We look forward to seeing you in lots and lots of
Thank you.
Lots of projects of all different sizes, and I really encourage everyone to go and see Short Term 12.
Thank you.